بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه وعلى كل من تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Hi folks, and welcome to this bonus module on the foundations of Arabic. In this module we're going to go through the core of the Arabic language and cover the most important and most widely applicable lessons. Now, understanding this core material is really going to put you ahead, not just when you study Arabic, but understanding these short yet crucial principles is what really makes the difference between the rookies and the experts. Now, I'm going to take for granted the fact that you've been through the alphabet lessons, you've gone through each letter and dissected its places of articulation, its primary and secondary qualities, and you've spent some time practicing how to pronounce it correctly. You've also learned to read words, sentences, and even paragraphs with the correct articulation and stress patterns. You've begun writing and know what each letter looks like at the beginning, middle, and end of a sequence, and also by itself. And you've also been practicing fine-tuning your listening skills to pick up the Arabic dialect. Now, millions of people around the world hunt fiercely for this high-ticket education, and those that do end up finding it have to acquire this value from multiple sources. So I'm very happy that you were able to take full advantage of this opportunity and study the alphabet lessons in detail, inshallah. Okay, so now we're ready to see how the Arabic language works. So, from the alphabet, we need to pick exactly 3 letters. It doesn't matter which 3 letters we choose. We can even choose a letter more than once. The only rule is we have to pick exactly 3 letters. And the letters I'm going to choose are Sin, Lam, and Mim. Now, these letters are in no particular order, and I'm going to indicate that by writing them like this. So these 3 letters will have some abstract idea associated to them. The idea associated with Sin, Lam, Mim, the letters I chose, for example, is your level of comfort with someone. You know, like when 2 tribes are living in the same region, how comfortable are they with each other? Are they at peace? Are they sleeping with one eye open? Are they constantly fighting? Okay, so the level of comfort 2 people share with each other. That's the abstract idea afforded by these letters. Now what I'm going to do is order the letters. And there are 3 factorial, or 6 different permutations. In other words, 6 ways I can order the letters. The order I choose is first Sin, then Lam, then Mim. Okay? When I give the letters an order, there is now a concrete idea associated to them. The concrete idea associated to Sin, then Lam, then Mim is submission. You know, like when you submit to someone, or you yield to them, or you surrender to them, etc. And the concrete idea of submission or surrender, notice, is a derivative of the abstract idea of comfort level. Because when someone surrenders to you, you both share a higher comfort level because there's no more fear or animosity between you. And I could have chosen any order for these letters. For example, I could have chosen Lam, then Mim, then Sin. Now the concrete idea associated to this series of letters is touching. And touching, notice, is a derivative of comfort level, because when 2 people are really comfortable with one another, they can be in direct physical contact. And the same goes for the other 4 permutations of these letters. You start with an ordered set of letters, and they have an abstract idea associated to them. You then order the letters somehow, and depending on the order you choose, the letters will now have some concrete idea associated to them, which is a derivative of the abstract idea. We call these ordered letters the base, or the root letters. But we still don't have a word yet, just these base letters. So the Arabic language also has a series of patterns, or you can call them templates if you want. A pattern is basically a set of instructions on how to put vowels on these 3 base letters, and possibly add some extra letters too, in order to make words. One pattern, for example, tells us to put a fatha on the first base letter, the Sin, and an alif after the second base letter, the Lam. This gives us the word salam. Similarly, another pattern gives us Islam, Muslim, Silm, and so on and so forth. These are just 4 examples. All of these words, in fact, are said to be from the same family because they share the same base letters. Not only that, but the meaning of each of these words is a derivative of the concrete idea of submission or surrender. Salam, for instance, means peace and safety because that is what you get when one side surrenders and submits to the other side. Islam means submission to God. Muslim means one who submits to God. Silm means submission. You know, not the idea of submission, but the actual word submission. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how words come to be in the Arabic language. Now, Arabic has 29 letters in the alphabet, and this should give us approximately 25,000 concrete ideas. In practice, though, only about 3,000 to 4,000 of these concrete ideas actually exist. Now, the number of patterns in the language is roughly 150,000. In practice, though, only about 10 to 15,000 of those can be applied to a given set of 3 base letters. But still, 10,000 patterns for 4,000 base letter sequences still gives us tens of millions of words, if not more. So take a minute to digest all that information about how words are created, because now we're going to talk about how phrases and sentences are created. So, if we have enough words constructed in this exact way, we can actually combine them to form phrases and sentences. This, for example, is a sentence. It says, "Sallama Zaydun Amran," which means Zayd protected Amr. Notice the word sallama. The base letters are sin, lam, mim, and the pattern is fatha on the first base letter, shadda plus fatha on the second base letter, and fatha on the third base letter. The meaning of the resulting word sallama is he protected. It's a past tense verb. Now Zayd is a name and Amr is also a name, so that's pretty simple. So we know each and every word in this sentence. He protected, Zayd, Amr. But does that mean that we know what the sentence is trying to tell us? Do we know who did the protecting and who was the one who was protected? The answer is no. So how do we figure out who did the protecting and who got protected? That, ladies and gentlemen, is the gargantuan question, and pretty much all of Arabic grammar is focused on answering this one question. Let's take the English example of this sentence. Zayd protected Amr. Now, the same problem exists in English, of course. Just because we know each word in the sentence doesn't mean we know what the sentence is telling us. So how do we figure that out in English? Well, in English, we're taught that a sentence like this will be divided into 3 parts. The first part will be the subject, the one who did the action. The second part will be the verb, the action itself. And the third part will be the object, the one who did the action, the one who the action was done to. This is called the subject-verb-object, or SVO pattern. So here we know it was Zayd who did the protecting, and Amr who the protection was done to. We know this because in English it's the order of the words that tells us. It's because of SVO. But in Arabic that's not the case. Yes, it is true that this is the verb, and this is the subject, and this is the object. Yes, this is the default and standard order of words in an Arabic sentence, but it's not mandatory. I can switch the words around, the order around, and it doesn't matter whether I say Sallama Zaydun Amran or even Sallama Amran Zaydun or Zaydun Sallama Amran. All of these sentences give the same basic meaning. Zayd protected Amr. So in Arabic, the order doesn't give us the meaning. If that's true, then what does? Well, you may have noticed when we were discussing patterns that a pattern tells us which vowels to put on the base letters of a word, but it does not tell us which vowel to put on the very last letter of a word. Sometimes it does, but not usually. So the word salam, for example, can be pronounced salamu, salama, salami, salamun, salaman, salamin. It doesn't matter. It's all the same word, just different variations. So what we do in Arabic is we put a vowel on the last letter of a word, and it is that vowel that tells us the word's role in the sentence. So it's the dhamma at the end of Zayd that's telling us he's the one who did the verb. And it's the fatha at the end of Amr that's telling us he was the one whom the verb was done to. In fact, if I wanted to switch the sentence from Zayd protected Amr to Amr protected Zayd, I couldn't just switch the words around. I should, but that wouldn't be enough. What I really have to do is switch the vowels around. Sallama Zaydan Amrun. You see? So the point of this is to illustrate to you that the order of words in an Arabic sentence does not change the basic meaning of the sentence. Yes, it does have some impact. That is true. Like one of these would be, it was Zayd who protected Amr. Another one might mean, it was Amr whom Zayd protected. And so on and so forth. But the basic idea is the same. In fact, just because we have one idea, doesn't mean there's only one way to say it. Or even 6 ways to say it. One idea can probably be expressed in hundreds, if not thousands of ways. You can prolong the speech. You can use metaphors. You can use similes. You can use imagery. These are just called methods of expression. Okay? One idea can be expressed in countless ways. Now, the science that deals with the ideas associated to base letters is called lugha, which means vocabulary. The science that teaches us about the patterns and templates in the language is called sarf. Sarf is mainly concerned with the internal structure of words and how to make words. Sarf is translated basically as morphology. The science that teaches us what role a word is playing in a sentence is called nahwu. Nahwu mainly deals with the end of words and the end of a word, and how the end of a word tells us the role that the word is playing in the current sentence. Okay? Is it the subject of the sentence? Is it the object? And so on and so forth. Nahwu is translated as grammar. Finally, the science that teaches us about the various ways to express the ideas in our head is called balagha. Balagha is actually a very large science, larger than both sarf and nahwu put together. While the books of sarf and nahwu are like 100, 200 pages each, the books of balagha are around 500, 600 pages each. And you have to complete sarf and nahwu entirely before you can start balagha. Balagha is considered a very advanced and exalted science. Well, we say science, but really it's more of an art, because sarf is concerned with words, and we can tell whether a word is valid or not. Right? A word is either valid or not. We can tell whether it is or not in the Arabic language. In English, we might not be able to tell. If you give me a random word, I can't tell you without looking in a dictionary, is it valid or not? But in Arabic, I can. You give me a random word without knowing what it means or ever having seen it before, I can tell you whether it's valid or not. Okay, so sarf teaches us that. And nahwu is concerned with sentences, and we can tell whether a sentence is valid or not. But balagha is concerned with what is the best way of conveying the idea in my head. And that, folks, is not a science. It's an art and a skill. And we have sciences beyond balagha as well, even more advanced sciences. Sciences like, arts like poetry and others. Now, when we study the foundations, we don't concern ourselves with lugha. That's because vocabulary is not something you study. It's something that's picked up over time through exposure to new words and so on. And we don't study balagha or anything beyond that, simply because it's too advanced and it's just not part of the fundamentals. Okay? You need the fundamentals before you can reach these heights. These are the heights. This is not the core material. What we do study is sarf and nahwu. So now, pull up your sleeves, because that's what we're going to get into right now.